Welcome to the DawgNation Postgame Show, presented by the UGA Bookstore. Stop by the UGA Bookstore for all your game day apparel. Here's your host, Brandon Adams.
We are live on the field at SoFi Stadium, where DawgNation has taken the place over. The celebration's ongoing. It's going to be wild. Our signal's hanging on by a thread, but we're going to take your calls. We're going to talk to you. We are going to bask in the glory of it all. Has there ever been a better time to be a dog than what there is right now? And the celebration that's been going on, these guys over here got their shirts off. You got this guy over here, he's dressed like the Mandalorian. You got the field completely covered up behind me. These players have been running around. You got security everywhere trying to keep this protected and trying to keep this locked down. What an unbelievable scene that we're going through right now. And when you think about the journey that Georgia's been on to kind of get to this point in time, it's just amazing. So we're going to do our part to try to talk about it. It's the DawgNation Postgame Show presented by the UGA Bookstore. Good to see Georgia fans here and having a good time. Great to see folks who've been with us for a long time enjoying all of this. Man, what a moment, what a thing. Tonight, the number one job that we have is to talk about what it means. Talk about what it means to you particularly. I want you to hop in. You're watching on Facebook. You're watching on YouTube. You're watching at DawgNation.com. There'll be a link to that Zoom chat. If you've joined us before, hop in here. If you've never been before, this is the night to get your face in the place and let's celebrate. What a amazing 15-0. I'm gonna show it to you. This is what it's all about right here. This is what it's all about right here. The AJC DawgNation. What's up? Good to see these dog fans hanging out and having a good time. You love to see it. This is what it's all about right here. Can you see that? It says perfect. Absolutely perfect. That's right. Go for 2 and 22. The fingers in the air. I've had so many fans. I've been walking around SoFi Stadium today. Those 2 fingers up. And I said it on Twitter a moment ago. That was the mission. It's mission accomplished. Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming by. It's mission accomplished. It's not just a back-to-back national championship. It's a perfect season. It's 15-0. Yes, sir. How about that, dog fans? How about that, DawgNation? Good to see you guys. Y'all, I wish you could be here. I wish you could be a part of this scene, but we're going to give you the next best thing. We're going to give you a chance to stop by, be on the show. Let's talk about this perfect season for these Georgia Bulldogs. Now, eventually, the music's going to stop and everything will settle in, and we'll be able to kind of, give you a little bit more of a show like we're able to give you. But right now, we're just going to get into it and enjoy it all. And you think about the post-game shows we've done over the years. You think about all of that. This is a night not to be forgotten. This is as good as it's ever been. Maybe not just for Georgia. How many programs in the history of college football have been better than what this is right now? We're going to hear from Terrence Edwards over the course of our time. We're going to hear from Jeff Santel. He's going to stop by. Who knows how many fun and surprise we might have in store for you. Because after all, on a perfect season like this, when it's this kind of year, when it's this kind of thing, when it's go for 2 and 22, you got nothing left to do but to just enjoy it. And my gosh, we're going to do everything we can for that. I have no idea if I can even hear any callers right now, but we're going to start trying to take some. We're going to start trying to hear from Terrence Edwards. We're going to hear from as many people as we can over the course of this evening. What a night that it is. So Michael Carvel is going to communicate with me. He's going to let me know when you're ready to go up and running, and we're going to do it. And all around, you got the DJ over here playing. You've got a scene unlike anything that probably LA's ever seen before. I don't know they've ever been taken over from a college football standpoint the way they have here tonight. So amazing stuff. We love to see it. I'm going to pop over. I'm going to read a couple of comments on YouTube, and at that point in time, maybe we'll have some of our callers ready to go. So if you're on hold, as soon as they communicate with me, I'll start getting you on here. We'll start rolling through all these. And by the way, if you'd like to get a chance to get some of this really cool celebratory stuff to go along with this national championship, guess what? You're going to get a chance to do that. I'll tell you how you – let's try that one more time. I'll tell you how you can get one of these tonight before it's all said and done. So we're going to have a great time. We're going to get you lined up. We're going to get you talking here. It's going to be amazing. So right now I'm not seeing any of our callers yet. We're going to get them up and running. We're going to get going with that. So that's going to be a good time. Let's pop in here. Let's read some regular YouTube comments, and we'll see if we can get it all going here. What a night it is indeed, and how much fun is all of this. Jonathan Aaron says, I see another drunk Stetson Bennett Good Morning America interview. Yeah, we're 1 year after they kind of... I don't think the interview he did a year ago after turning up the Pappy Van Winkle, I don't think that's going to have anything on what he may be doing right now and what all of us may be doing as a way of celebrating all that. Man, I love seeing Dog fans so happy. Yeah, love you guys. Thanks so much. Have a great time. Go for 2 and 22. That's exactly right. Listen, Dog fans enjoying themselves. By the way, these like very nice, swanky, like suites at the field level, these Georgia fans have been getting after it before the game, during the game. Their celebration's ongoing. I don't know how you're ever going to get DawgNation cleared out of this stadium here tonight. DGD Podcast says it's utter domination. It is indeed. Utter domination indeed. And we're going to talk about it all night long. I'm going to put my headphones on. I'm going to see if I can hear you. We'll do the best we can. Be patient with us. Y'all, it's a madhouse in here. This stadium's like unlike any party you've ever seen before. So I promise we're going to get to as many of your calls as we can. I promise you're going to have your chance to have your voice heard, and you're going to get a chance to say what it's all about here right now. And we're going to watch these Georgia fans. There's a guy, I mean, you just got all kinds of dancing and partying going on. So we're going to have fun with it. We're going to invite you to be a part of it. In fact, Ace Dog, you're first up tonight. Ace Dog, you've been a caller for us all year long. Have you ever had a night quite like this one, though, Ace Dog? How does it feel to be a Georgia Bulldog, Ace, on this particular Saturday night right here? Ace, are you there? Go ahead. I don't know if that's on my end or what, Ace, but we're going to hear you. We're going to get your calls in here, and we're going to do it, and we're going to celebrate all of this. Taiwan Taylor loving it tonight. Heath Williams checking in. Heath, I'm glad you had a good time. Confetti's all around here. A national championship for these Georgia Bulldogs. That's quite amazing. Ace, are you still with us? Do you want to give that another shot? Ace, go ahead. Maybe it's just me that can't hear you. It is very loud in here right now. Ace, go ahead. I'm not getting Ace right now, so we'll listen, we'll get it figured out. We'll keep it going. We're going to have a good time here tonight. By the way, the other thing that you'll see, that's right. I got Dog fans, they're already saying, go for 3 and 23. They're already holding up the 3 fingers, rolling on, getting ready to do this. So it's going to be that kind of night, that kind of celebration. Great to see folks here having a good time. And we're going to try our best to get through it all. And it's just going to see where this takes us. So y'all bear with us. It's a wild scene. It's a great time. And we're going to see what it's all about. Frank Montanero checks in to say go Dogs. Frank, absolutely. Go Dogs, right back at you on that. What a night this is to be celebrating. Scott Boland says Dogs on top. Scott, great time to be celebrating here with UGA. Unbelievable scene. What a moment. Scott Pete says, I'm having a ball. Listen, how could you not? I mean, of all the things that we've been through, and after winning the national championship, all the people said, hey, you may have gotten one, but that was lucky, that was a fluke, that was whatever it was. Those teams like Alabama and Ohio State that were ranked ahead of Georgia in those preseason rankings. When you think about that, guess what? Look around this field tonight. I didn't see Alabama anywhere. I didn't see Ohio State anywhere. Georgia took care of that business last Saturday. So you better believe we're enjoying all of this. You better believe we're celebrating every minute of all of this with Georgia on top doing what they're doing here tonight. Foster Moss, thanks to you for being a part of this there too. What a great time. And we're going to have, we got Frank. Frank, you're next up here on the DawgNation postgame show presented by the UGA Bookstore. Frank, how about them Dogs? How does it feel to go for 2 and 22? It's done. It happened. Perfect season. Frank, how did that feel? I don't know if that's on me or what, but I'm not hearing anything. So it may just be too loud in here right now. So we're going to try to figure it out. If you're on hold, I promise we're going to get to you. We're going to have a chance to celebrate and do this. But for now, this is an unbelievably wild scene. So we'll read your comments. We'll talk to you. We'll have a good time. we'll try to figure it out. And we can actually kind of go through and discuss some of the big moments for the game. How about the fact this Georgia Paul type moment where he was taken out of the game. He gives the big embrace. He gives the big hug to Kirby Smart. When you have something like that happen, I think it just puts the entire career of Stetson Bennett into perspective. And for a guy, around here at DawgNation, and Jeff Sentell is really the guy that kind of coined this phrase, we've been calling these stage games. When you bring out the stage, and the stage apparatus is still behind me, by the way, when you bring out the stage and when you crown an MVP, when you play the kind of big game that you celebrate on the field after you win, those are the moments in which Stetson Bennett has been the absolute best. He's been everything that you want him to be, including here tonight. An unbelievable thing indeed. So you love to see that. We're having a great time.
Let's go, Brandon.
We'll keep trying to take these calls.
Are you fucking right?
Is Frank here? Frank, is that you? All right, I'm not sure what's going on here. We got a wild scene, so I'll see if I can get some communication. We'll find out what it is. But I do know
you
this.
Keep muting
Celebrating
people.
Go for 2 and 20. Is that you? Listen, I'm not muting anybody. Who is this? Can you tell us your name, sir? What's going on here? We got a wild can you tell us your name? So I'll see if I can get communication. We'll find out what it is. But I do know this.
I'm not sure.
Celebrating Go for 2 and 20. So I'm hearing all kinds of feedback. Let's kill that caller because I'm hearing all kinds of feedback. I am hearing that. I'm hearing the feedback. So let's see if we can kill that. Let's go to Mike. Mike, you're next up here on the DawgNation postgame show, presented by the UGA Bookstore. I'm hearing so much feedback, but Mike, we're going to give you a chance. Mike, go ahead. Mike, are you there? All right, so I'm hearing feedback. So at least I'm hearing something. I'm just not hearing the kind of thing that can allow me to communicate with you. I'm hearing my own voice again a few seconds after I'm saying it. So, but at least I'm hearing something now, which means we should be able to take calls. The music's also kind of coming down here a little bit too. So we're gonna get ready to settle in. We're gonna get ready to have a good time. It's our DawgNation post-game show presented by the UGA Bookstore. Let me also thank our friends at the UGA Bookstore who've been such a big part of what we've done here around DawgNation all year long. And don't you know, it's a great time to start celebrating. Get stocked up on that great apparel that the UGA Bookstore is so famous for. They've had all the national championship stuff. We just had a proposal take place in the field there. They've had all that national championship stuff last year, and guess what? They get to get restocked and get a whole crop of new stuff here for this year there as well. So stop by and see them. If you can't be in Athens, you can go by UGABookstore.com, and you can pick it up and buy it there. Or if you're in Athens, go by right next to the Tate Student Center across from Sanford Stadium, and you can go by the UGA Bookstore and enjoy all of that. And a sincere thank you to our friends at the UGA Bookstore who've been with us not just this season, but for many seasons. They've been great partners of ours here on the DawgNation postgame show. I'm really, really thankful for that and really happy to be able to talk to you about all of this here this evening. Next caller's up. I think we have the phone situation kind of cleared up now. William Green, you're next up here on the DawgNation postgame show presented by the UGA Bookstore. William, I know how much you love all of this. How much fun is it? How about them dogs? How does it feel to be celebrating a national championship?
BA, it feels amazing. We're throwing you a change-up. You got two William Greens here. Scott Sr., the Green Soldier. We're celebrating. We got an apple pie in the oven, ice cream to put on top. We love you. We love the dogs. Thank you so much for bringing so much fanfare to the whole season. We love all you guys. I'm handing over to the Green Soldier.
VA, just absolute utter dominance from the word go. And I couldn't be happier. I think the scared thing fans need to be looking at, especially those who aren't dog fans, there was 5 or 6 freshmen on that defense absolutely tearing up a very gritty and tough TCU team that earned their spot in the national title. So we're not going anywhere. Kirby's right. We're not going to be hunted, and we're not leaving the mountaintop anytime soon.
I appreciate that, Mr. Our good friends, the Green family. I appreciate that so much. That's well said, and I noticed the same thing when you see Mikael Williams out there doing what he did. When you see Bear Alexander out there doing what he did, it's really exciting to think about how bright the future is. And as you also point out, I don't have a bad word to say about TCU. I believe TCU earned their place here. I just don't think there was anything possible to stop what Georgia was showing out there today. This would have been a dominant performance had it been homecoming. But to think about on the stage of a national championship, I just don't think you can hardly put in perspective just how amazing this was for UGA here tonight. So the good news is it seems like we got our caller situation figured out and fixed, so that means we're off and running here. So after kind of a chaotic scene with everything going on, I think we're settling down here and we're talking about not just how it feels, but what we actually saw and the level of dominance here. How about the performance for Brock Bowers? We can go through all of this over the course of the evening. We'll invite you to do that. Hope to catch up with Terrence Edwards. Hope to catch up with Jeff Sintel and some of the others right here in L.A. And we're going to catch up with JC right now. JC, you're next up here on the DawgNation Postgame Show presented by the UGA Bookstore. JC, how does it feel to be a dog here tonight? How about Harry Dog? Y'all
Hey, we went for 2-22, BA. It's a great feeling to be the national champions, the reigning, the defending national champions. And we're going to go for 3-23. So, yeah, get ready. Get ready again. Thank you again for bringing us all the fanfare like that one caller said. You brought us in, and I appreciate it. And looking forward to next year. So when we go for 3-23.
JC, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for your kind words. And, man, what a great night that is and how much fun has all that been. And you're right. It has been such a special time to be a Dog fan. So much fun to be enjoying that. And, JC, you're a great caller, and I'm so happy to hear you enjoying that. Happy to see you as happy as you are here tonight. And really fun to kind of look back on exactly what it was that transpired here over the course of these 60 minutes. I mentioned Brock Bowers a moment ago. How about Ladd McConkey, what he brought to the table here for Georgia tonight there as well. It's just been, it's been amazing. So we'll keep taking your calls. I'm hearing something coming through, but I'm not sure who the caller is. So we'll see if we can get that cleared up. And as soon as I'm told what we got going on there, we'll bring you on here and have some fun with you. And we'll continue to read your comments on the other comment sections there too, as things are starting to kind of settle down a little bit now. The confetti's still falling. It's also raining, which is strange for a stadium like this, but it was raining here, so it's just that kind of night. Will Smith, you're next up here on the DawgNation Postgame Show, presented by the UGA Bookstore. Will, how about them Dogs? Congratulations on being a part of a go for 2 and 22 repeat national championship. Will, how did it feel?
Yes, sir. How about them Dogs? I knew it was going to be a good game once Kirby Smart come out in the pregame and said they weren't going to be hunted, but they're going to be ones hunting. And they did just that. I think the offense and the defense were both clicking. And it's scary to think what the Dogs will be doing next year.
Will, I think you bring up a really good point. I appreciate your call. That I think it's the mindset that Georgia approached the season with that probably helped them win the national championship as much as anything. And, publicly, Kirby would talk a lot about, hey, this team hasn't proven anything. It was last year's national championship, and would even go so far as to say this team wasn't defending the national championship. But some of the ways in which he said that and some of that communication, what that ends up really being is, I think, the kind of thing that established a real hungry mindset where a lot of these Georgia players who stepped up into a bigger role this year, they wanted some of that fame and glory for themselves that they saw Trayvon Walker and Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt and all those guys get a year ago. Those guys put their DNA, they put their stamp on that national championship. And this year was a time and for some of these guys to kind of have this moment to themselves. Or if you're a guy like, say, Christopher Smith, who was huge again for Georgia tonight, this is a guy now who can really say he was a major contributor on 2 different national championship teams. So, yeah, there's so many great things to say, so many fun things to break down. I also want to point out something else that our buddy Green Soldier, who just joined us via the live call, said there as well. If you pop on the air, whatever platform you're watching on, Facebook, YouTube, whatever else, go ahead and mute that, because if you join me with your audio turned up on your device, it's kind of like you used to say if you call on the radio station, turn your radio down before you get on. Go ahead and, don't mute your Zoom, but mute your device that you're listening to the show on, because we're going to end up getting that double feedback on you if you do that. But next up is Mark. Mark, you're live here on the DawgNation Postgame Show, presented by the UGA Bookstore. How much fun is this, Mark? How about them Dogs? How does it feel to be a dog on this particular, not Saturday night, but Monday night here tonight? How does that feel, Mark?
It feels really good. It feels really, really exciting. And this is what I have to say about LTCU. We ate them up. We ate some frog legs tonight. We smoked them out and we spit them out and we stomped them to the ground. It's like the sugar cane came out of the sky. Hey.
I love it, Mark. You're absolutely right. Georgia absolutely stomped all over those frogs here tonight, and they're chewing and feasting on frog legs. You better believe that's the case. So, Mark, that is so really well said. I'm also getting some folks asking to have that link kind of put back to the top of the page there on some of our various chats. We got some folks who want to join us, so we'll get that link for you there so you'll be able to do that. And I showed you a little earlier, one of the things I've been holding up and walking around, how nice does it feel to be able to walk around and say, perfect season for these dogs. How much fun is that? Well, guess what? If you want some of this exclusive merchandise for yourself, here's what you can do. You can go to ajc.com/dogsnews to get your exclusive national championship merchandise. I'm happy to say we've got a new book coming out. I'm excited to once again be a part of that, trying to tell the story of what a second national championship means for these dogs. So if you want to be a part of this, as I said, the website to go to here is ajc.com/dogsnews. That's ajc.com/dogsnews, and you can be a part of that with us. And we'll invite you to do that. So we'll keep taking your calls. We'll keep celebrating a national championship. We'll keep talking about all of the instrumental moments in this 65-7. Can you believe in a national championship game we saw Georgia win tonight 65-7? 65-7. It's unbelievable. Obviously, Javon Bullard leaves this game with injury. I don't have an update on his condition yet. I hope to hear more about that. But we do know this. In the first 30 minutes of this game, Bullard was as good as he's ever been. You're talking about Javon Bullard very quickly becoming one of Georgia's most important players. And one of here's what's unfair. And you know this is true. And I'm going to go back. I promise we'll go back to the phones right after this. Here's what's unfair. Georgia already recruits at an unprecedented clip. More than 80% of this roster is former 4- and 5-star prospects. You've got guys like Javon Bullard who are really a testament to great scouting. You know, Kirby's talked about it. They saw him working out during the COVID time. They saw him kind of doing some shuttle runs and some things like that, some cone drills in his backyard when everybody else was locked down in pandemic. Javon Bullard was making a name for himself, and all of a sudden now he's one of the best players in college football. It's another one of these crazy stories of on a team that's filled with the kind of blue chip prospects who are kind of thought to be can't miss. You've got a lot of guys who are completely overlooked, and they stand right there shoulder to shoulder, side by side with the very best players in this team. A guy like Bullard's like that on defense. Obviously guys like Latin McConkey and Stetson Bennett are like that on offense. So it's amazing. Hugh Nash, you're next up here on the DawgNation Postgame Show, presented by the UGA Bookstore. How about them dogs? It's a national championship night. How does it feel, my friend?
How about them dogs, BA? Super excited. I wish I was there with you. What a way to end the year. Kirby, continues to say that Georgia doesn't put together a complete game, and they put together a complete game. And man, Carson Beck and Branson Robinson and a bunch of our youngins, they look ready to go for 3 and 23. And this made a pretty good rebuilding year.
Hugh, I love that. Nick Saban, you've probably seen from his interview with ESPN tonight, David Pollack talking about Georgia taking over college football. The look on Saban's face, that sourpuss, is completely priceless because, his idea of a rebuilding season is what happened in 2021. Georgia's idea of a rebuilding season is building another shelf to put another national championship trophy on. That's how Georgia rebuilds.
You're off the mic.
Hugh, anything else stand out to you? Anything else stand out to you about tonight, Hugh?
No, I just think that Kirby had them fired up and ready to attack, and I just love the connection the team has, and they really play for each other, and the culture he has built there is one that's going to last.
Hugh, it's a great call, and I appreciate you being a part of the show. And I do really believe that stuff matters. And I'm always on guard for stuff that we want to be true that might not be true. And, this is one of those things that just sort of sounds, some cases, too good to be true. The notion that in a day and age in which, players have a right to kind of pursue their own self-interest in a way that maybe didn't exist in the past, and they might even be smart to do that. The notion that at a place like Georgia, team still matters, and guys who are, Darnell Washington's from Nevada, Carson Beck's from Florida, Stetson Bennett's from South Georgia, Xavier Truss is from Rhode Island, on and on you go. Keely Ringo, kind of grew up in Washington, moved to Arizona. On and on you can go. By the way, that may be the record for the most confetti I've seen being carried out of here. That may be the most I've seen right there. I like it. Hey, that's awesome. Hey, congratulations. So you got people just on the field just scooping up the confetti here and having fun with that. But the idea that Georgia has worked hard to cultivate that connection, I do think it's a really important part of kind of how they've gotten to where they are. I think it's a really important part of what's made Georgia this year. I really do believe that's the case. I'll also tell you this before we go back out to the phones again. This is one of those things that now that the season's over, it's almost kind of like a now it can be told type thing where you kind of look back on the year. And I don't mind telling you something. There was one thing about this Georgia team that sort of made me nervous all year long. It was the fact that, as I think one of our callers said, maybe it was Hugh, that Kirby had a habit of saying, hey, we still hadn't seen a complete game. Or, obviously a guy like Kirby who's sort of driven by the standard of perfection, there's always some sort of blemish. There's always some sort of thing that he notices. And yet tonight sort of felt like that perfect game. It sort of felt like Georgia finally firing on all cylinders in all phases the way that you kind of always hoped that they would. This is one of those nights where it sort of feels like they might do that. I kind of wondered a lot through the year. Could this team just sort of flip the switch when they needed to? Because it does seem like they spent a lot of this season just kind of, in some cases, sort of disinterested. They were kind of bored at times. And I was always really worried, could you really have a situation like that where you kind of sleptwalk when you didn't really have, much motivation, and then all of a sudden when you really needed to, you just, boom, you stepped up and you played your very best game. Well, guess what we found out tonight? That's indeed exactly what Georgia's able to do. By the way, how about one of the game balls over here just kind of rolls over and lands right over here by me there on that. But the point here is that, yeah, Georgia really could find a way just to, boom, flip that switch and be at its absolute best when he absolutely needed to. So it's amazing. Next up is Ryan Walker here in the DawgNation postgame show. Ryan, we're presented by the UGA Bookstore. We're happy to have you with us. You've been a great caller for us all year long, but we've never had a night quite like we're having right now. Ryan, how does it feel to be a dog?
How about them damn dogs? I'm sorry to say it like that. I know it's a family show, but I'm into it.
No
man.
Worries.
I got a shirt that's being made right now. I said I was going to wait because I didn't want to jinx it. So I got something special on the way, so be prepared for that. Man, we dominated all phases of the game tonight. It's like they had no chance. It's just honestly like a varsity team smashing up on a Pop Warner team. That was pretty much what it was. To quote the great Shannon Sharp, when he was playing for Denver, and he and Terrell Davis said, we're not validated until we get that second championship. We did it back to back. So what can they say now? All the haters are out here talking on social media. They can't touch us now. And the thing is, we coming back for number 3 next year. I know I'm not a cocky dude, but right now, man, we tooting our horn, baby. 3 in 2023, BA. So you might as well go ahead and book it, man. We getting it next year. So thank you for having me on. I appreciate the Dog fans, and look out for Branson Robinson and Carson Beck next year. They're going to be dynamic.
I love it, Ryan. Thanks for the phone call. I think you're absolutely right. And what you described there, I think for me, and this is maybe different than some Georgia fans are, I think there's an element of this that is a little sweeter than it was a year ago, because you had a lot of people like in the immediate aftermath of the game, and there's a bunch of people who are going to run from some of their takes. They're going to run from some of their opinions. They're going to pretend they never had them. But we know for a fact that we had people from the word go right after that national championship a year ago trying to say it was some sort of fluke, trying to say it was and I just think it sort of cements this era as kind of the Georgia era. And if you look around, in retrospect, that's what this season was, that there really wasn't another story of note other than Georgia's dominance through the season. And yeah, they sleptwalk a time or two here and there. And yeah, they kind of, got a really hard-fought game from Ohio State. Take your hats off to them. But ultimately, that's all there is. This was the year that Georgia just simply became the preeminent, the top program in all of college football. And that's what this year was about. When 2022 is remembered, it'll be remembered for go for two in 22, because doubling up the national championships for Kirby Smart has made it clear. It's made it obvious. Smart's the best coach in the sport. Georgia's the best program in the sport. Nobody stands taller than Georgia. In fact, no one stands on the same plane as these dogs here right now. It is the era of the Georgia Bulldogs. Back-to-back national championships, capping off last year's with a perfect 15-0 season here this year. It doesn't get it any better than that. Frank Patterson joins us here, a great part of our community here around DawgNation. Frank, I know how much you've loved this entire season, and yet the sweetest moment of all happens here tonight. We're still on the field. We're still basking in the glow of it and just soaking it all up. How did it feel to be where you were tonight, Frank?
It felt great watching a good win. I had a feeling it was going to kind of be like the Michigan game was last year. I didn't think we'd jump on them that bad. But I just wanted to call in real quick. I've been following your guys' show for about 3 or 4 years now. I really enjoy it. Thank you for, I guess, getting me involved with it, comments. I love how you take comments. I apologize for calling in to the postgame show so late in the season. I've been super busy, like watching all the old tapes and searching all the record books, trying to find an Alabama running back that can rush for 4,000 yards on Saturdays and Sundays, but I ain't been able to find one, so I just gave up. So I figured I would just call in and celebrate this win with you and DawgNation. And just want to thank you and Jeff and, Mike and, the whole team for what you do. Really brings a lot to us. Go Dogs.
Frank, you're a great caller. You're a great commenter. And I said this on Twitter a little earlier tonight. These Georgia fans, man, they're going to be hard to deal with. Georgia fans are going to be tough to deal with. Can you imagine how much barking there's going to be up and down the streets of L.A. and Santa Monica and Beverly Hills and West Hollywood and Venice Beach? Can you imagine how much of that is going to be going on? And for all what Frank was talking about earlier is in our comment sections, we have a lot of back and forth stuff that goes on between Georgia fans. We have some Bama fans, and honestly, most of them are really good-natured guys that kind of come and sort of enjoy the competition and the takes back and forth. And Frank just sort of to pop on the show and spike that football after all of the back and forth that Georgia folks and Bama folks have been having. But tonight, can't nobody say nothing to these Georgia Bulldogs. Can't nobody say nothing about what this is. Georgia is the reigning national champions. They were last year, they are this year, and it's going to keep on being that way for as long as the eye can see. So it's a great night. We'll take more of your calls. I also want to tell you this too. I gave you this website a little earlier. I want to give it to you again. If you want to get in here and get some of this exclusive merchandise, the new book's going to be coming out. You want to get one of these commemorative field editions. So many of you have these kind of framed on your, basements and things like that. Well, the website on this, I got like 18 things going at once here. It's ajc.com/dogsnews. ajc.com/dogsnews. You can go there, get that, and you can go ahead and start getting that celebration going. These things just sold out 12 times over last year. It's going to be the same thing again this year. It's also raining, like torrential downpour right now. You can hear it. I can feel the mist inside the stadium. I hope this thing holds because it's raining very hard here right now. All right, let's get some more calls here. Listen, always a great caller. Talk about somebody who's going to cut a promo on you right now. How about our buddy Randy in Tifton? Randy, how about them dogs tonight? How you feeling?
I tell you what, BA. We just had a great Georgia party, and we just can't look at all the freshmen that played tonight. That's what we're talking about right here. Georgia. We ain't going nowhere. I don't care what. Poor old Nick Saban at halftime was about to cry when they said Georgia's a new standard. Get used to it, because Georgia ain't going nowhere. Back to back champions. Vegas is already picking Georgia to win. We ain't going nowhere, BA, and we're going to have a great time when we go on our DawgNation cruise, baby. I can't wait, and I'm ready.
I love it, Randy. I can't wait to see you there for that. It's going to be a great celebration. Listen, here's what I got for Nick Saban right here. How about a little confetti right there in the face, Nick? There you go. That little sour, frowning face on TV. Little confetti right there for you, Nick. How about a little bit more of that right there? That's what Nick Saban gets. Red and black confetti falling all over L.A. tonight. Nick Saban used to have the confetti. He used to get the celebration. He doesn't get that anymore. That's exactly right. Randy, you are all about it. And, yeah, the DawgNation Cruise is going to be amazing. By the way, we've actually just opened up some brand new staterooms for our DawgNation Cruise. So we never quite wanted to say this for sure until it became official. But now that it is official, now that Georgia has kind of finished the mission of go for 2 in 22. Now that Georgia has kind of done that again, we can kind of say last year's cruise was a wonderful celebration of the national championship. This year's cruise is going to be another wonderful celebration of this national championship. Some of the things that we did last year in terms of just getting together and reminiscing and watching, rewatching some of these great games and doing that kind of stuff. It's going to be so much fun to do all of that all over again. So, Randy, I'm glad you're going to be on board, and invite a lot of you to be on board there as well. Our good friend Jessica Slater's got a website for you, royaldogs.com. Click into it. You can go there, and you can be a part of the DawgNation Cruise. You've been hearing me say it. Now it's time to go ahead and get on board, and we'll see you in April 24th through the 28th, on board Independence of the Seas. Randy, I'm glad you're going to be there. I'm also glad to have Isha joining us here. Isha's always a great caller, too. We've got so many great people here in DawgNation who share their thoughts and talk about what this means and kind of break it down what we saw. Isha, we saw a very good football team play tonight, did we not?
Yes, sir, we did. Throughout the season, that I was kind of looking at a lot of people comment about the defense, about this, about that. And kind of sort of saying what Aaron Rodgers said in the past, relax, and then they showed you what they could do today. And they put all phases to the test today, and they went out and balled. But I do want to say something that I don't think nobody mentioned today. I mentioned it to earlier to a friend of mine. I think we dedicate the win to a pregame ritual we Corso. He stated in the game, he picked all the wrong picks in the playoffs, and then he picked us to lose today. The win goes to him, because if he'd have picked us, we probably would have lost. But I'm hearing my Georgia gear as I always been doing since we won the championship. When it's big games, I put on the championship stuff. And by the way, because we got so many Georgia fans out here that already hit that site, I already got my stuff ordered and on the way. Between me and my wife, she at work right now, we both was ordering stuff to make sure I get my size, because it's always gone. But I'm glad we got that win.
I love it, Isha. Thanks.
Not only did we get that win, go for 2 for 22 that y'all been promoting, it's an undefeated season. And it's just been records broken all day. And 65 points, I mean, my phone been blowing up all day.
Listen, Isha, I'm right there with you. People texting and calling and enjoying all this. 65 points is amazing. And one of our commenters in our YouTube comment section is kind of talking about something similar to that there as well. Can you imagine being Michigan right now? You saw this team beat you. TCU beat Michigan. Michigan feeling like they're undefeated team, and they thought they were a legitimate national championship contender. They saw TCU beat them, and then turn around and lose this game 65-7. It must be a very odd time to be a Wolverine fan, and maybe that kind of helps explain why Jim Harbaugh's thinking about going on the NFL or something like that, because maybe he sees the writing on the wall in college football. He knows who this era belongs to. Maybe he found that out in the Orange Bowl last year, and certainly this year's college football playoff only reinforces that even more. But Isha, I'm glad you're already getting that national championship gear. You're getting stocked up on that. Don't forget our friends at the UGA Bookstore. They're going to have plenty for you there on that too. UGAbookstore.com. That's the place you go, and you can get it. You want the official memorabilia. You want the official shirts and pullovers and things like that, the hats, like everybody's been wearing now for such a long time. Well, guess what? A brand new crop of that back-to-back. And by the way, how good does our back-to-back go for 2 in 22 national championship logo look? How good does that look as we celebrate that? You see that on the screen there. Mission accomplished, back-to-back national champions, go for 2 in 22. It looks amazing, and we're having a great time with that. Let's go back to phones here. Frank Palumbo, you're next here on our DawgNation postgame show, presented by the UGA Bookstore. Frank, how about them Dogs tonight?
No words, BA. The Dogs did exactly what they should have done. 3 points I really wanted to bring up tonight. The first one was, what about Stetson Bennett? And not just his impact on the University of Georgia, but on college football. It's time to put him within the pantheon of the greats of all of college football. It's unbelievable, his story. Second point, let's talk about the perfect season, 15-0. This team won't be remembered in the likes of the LSU team, back in, 2019, but they're still on the same pedestal as all the other undefeated teams that are in college football, and you can never take that away from those guys. And last point here is, we talk about Todd Monken. Let's look at his future and what it brings to Georgia Bulldogs football. And I think, you do everything you can to bring Todd Monken back. He is by far the piece that put us over the edge, and I hope that we continue to see him on the sidelines at Georgia games going forward for as long as we could possibly take it. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs indeed, Frank. That's so well said. I think you're absolutely right about that. The night for Todd Monken, beautifully designed, and Stetson Bennett does put himself in the historic category here. When you think about 6 combined touchdowns for him with rushing and passing, and I think his status not just as a historic Georgia figure, but as a historic college football figure. The way in which you got the walk-off send-off tonight was a beautiful thing to be able to see, and this is a night not to be forgotten. And I do think that Georgia as a team, this era of Georgia football, kind of goes in that historic category now there as well. Mike Griffith walking by, we'll grab him, we'll bring him over. Mike, you've covered a lot of college football over the years. Have you ever seen anything quite like the run this Georgia team goes on the course of the last couple of years?
Not really, Brandon. You take a look at the scoreboard tonight. You look at a perfect 15-0 season. This just doesn't happen, much less on the heels of another national championship season. And what's so exciting, talking to the Bulldogs in there, and yeah, they're celebrating and soaking it in as they should, but there's already talk about next year. This is how dynasties think. This is how programs plant the flag and anchor down. The expectation doesn't change. It's not over. Kirby Smart has created a mentality where the glass is never full, and that's what's so fulfilling about seeing what these Bulldogs did tonight. You mentioned the legend that Stetson left behind. I don't think he could have played much better, and I said that. I said there's no way he's going to go 2 weeks in a row making kind of mistakes he did early in that game last week. He was sharp. He was accurate. He was poised. 6 total touchdowns. As you said, that's historic. Listen, Stetson Bennett cemented himself tonight as a college football Hall of Famer. Make no mistake about it, Brendan. What we saw tonight was a historic performance. I don't think you could have scripted a better ending for the mailman.
Well, listen, Mike, it's been a great season. We've enjoyed reading you there at DawgNation.com. We appreciate you stopping by and being a part of this.
This makes it easy, doesn't it, Brandon?
It's good. It's a good time. Happy to have Mike Griffith stop by to be a part of this, and happy to keep taking your phone calls here, part of this there as well. It's our DawgNation postgame show presented by the UGA Bookstore. Crow King, you're next up here tonight on the program. Crow King, how about them Dogs? How did it feel?
Oh, man, I can't even begin to imagine this. First of all, shout out to the YouTube channel and all my friends in there. This has been an incredible year. It's even hard to put everything into words. Stetson Bennett, most legendary player to ever play in this ever for Georgia, even more than Herschel. Herschel may be the most dominating, but Stetson Bennett is the most legendary player to ever play for Georgia football. I cannot even begin to imagine his story. But man, go Dogs. This has been a special year. This is the good old days. It's a great time to be alive. Go Dogs.
Crow King, you say it so well. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your thoughts there. And listen, I think the tales of Stetson Bennett are going to be told for a long time. And, I spent some time on Saturday when the media day was taking place, and I was obviously was live with all of you, but I was also just kind of watching Stetson Bennett a little bit. I actually went back and rewatched the video of his press conference there that day, and the thing that I'm just really blown away with by him is just how comfortable he is in his own skin and how relaxed he seemed with all of this. And obviously, his experience helps with that, but this was a guy walking into this field tonight who just sort of seemed like he knew that he had it. And yeah, I do think you have to make a list. Last year the debate was, and Aaron Murray was magnanimous in saying he believed that Stetson Bennett was the greatest quarterback in Georgia football history. Well, at this point in time now, it's not a discussion at all. At this point in time, it's obvious that Bennett has become, this program's most revered quarterback, one of the 3 or 4 5 most revered players in program history, and in the kind of the college football playoff era, which dates back 2014. How many folks have kind of had more than the success and than what Bennett had. You talk about Joe Burrow. Well, tonight the total points that Bennett scores and accounts for, that actually surpassed the number that Joe Burrow put together. And listen, Joe Burrow's a great quarterback, but my point is like, these are the guys that Bennett's being compared to. His all-time winning percentage, the touchdowns, the stats. The guys that you're going to mention in the same breath with Stetson Bennett are the very best quarterbacks that have ever played the game. And that's true in the contemporary sense, in the long-term sense. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. Kristen Hooten, you're next up here on the DawgNation Postgame Show, presented by the UGA Bookstore. Kristen, thanks for being here. How about them Dogs? What did it feel like tonight?
How about them Dogs, BA? It felt great.
No doubt.
My dad and I are huge fans of the show, so thank you to you and everybody contributing at DawgNation. Makes the season super fun for us. But it was a great feeling. I think, especially after that last one, I think you've said a few times, not a lot of fun moments during that, more so afterwards. But this one was fun all the way through. So great to see such a complete performance on both sides of the ball. Really a fun time to watch. And I was with a few people that were not Dogs fans saying a couple things at the end about, are they going to run up the score and this, that, whatever. And, they weren't. We just got some young guys in there at the end that are playing Georgia football, even at the end there. So I'm in Texas right now, so there are a few of us certainly yelling "Go Dogs" here, even though we're in a little bit of enemy territory for tonight. But it was an awesome game and super fun to watch. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs indeed, Kristen. Thank you so much. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you and your dad watching our show and being a part of what we do here around DawgNation. It is so much fun to be able to have these kinds of conversations, get to know people like you. And so we appreciate you being a part of the content that we've been doing all season long. And thanks for letting us have the privilege of being able to have this conversation with you. And to go back to the point you were also making with your phone call, at times I just watch this team when they're operating the way they were tonight, and you just can't believe how good they are. You just can't believe how thorough and dominant they are in every single phase. I mean, they were like, one 60-yard pass play away from almost pitching a perfect game. I mean, they basically pitched a Don Larson perfect game with the exception of just like the one big, busted coverage, big pass play that resulted in the Dugan touchdown. Other than that, they were just darn near perfect. And on the heels of like a heart-stopping, thrilling game against Ohio State, who, listen, is a very good team, to be able to follow that up with this here tonight, it's just amazing. It's just amazing, and I'm glad you're enjoying that. I'm glad all of DawgNation is enjoying that. Richard Sheffield says, great call, Kristen. I would say it is a great call. It's a great call indeed. David West says he's now witnessed 3 of Georgia's 4 national championships. So David wasn't around for the 1942 title, but he was there for 80. He was there for 2021, and now he's here for the back-to-back championship in 2022. And I think about those early 80s Georgia teams. That's kind of before I was old enough to be following Georgia football, but I know that they had a chance to come back and win the championship in 82. They're obviously a contender for the championship in 81. They really even post-Herschel, a pretty big contender in 1983 there as well. Those were teams that were close to matching what that 1980 team can do. And when you see those teams of that era fall just a little bit short, or other teams like that have fallen short, Kirby's saying, hey, being in Alabama that had won obviously a lot of championships, the fact that when they would come back with a chance to do it the following year that they didn't, it once again just reinforces how hard it is to win 2 straight national championships, to have it all come together for you that way over the course of a couple of seasons. And that's why I think the celebration is just going to be so intense here, because as I mentioned a little earlier, the success that Georgia has this year, I think, kind of reframes the way you look at last year's. I mean, you do have in college football, long-term history, recent history, whatever else, you occasionally have the sort of one-and-done type team, the sort of one-hit wonder. I don't mean this disrespectfully, but, LSU, after winning the national championship 2019, they haven't even come close to resembling that any year since then. So it's possible to be a great team, maybe in the case of LSU, one of the greatest teams of all time, and then not quite have that, be fulfilled again in the future. Well, in this Georgia team's case, they're just rolling right on. They're just keeping right on, doing it the same way the same way they always have over the course of these last couple of seasons. It's amazing. Jacob O'Neill, good to see you. Chad Buchanan, good to see you there as well. Cassie Turner, you're next up here on the DawgNation postgame show in the UGA Bookstore. Cassie, hello to you. Thanks for being here. Congratulations on being able to be a part of a magical season here for these Georgia Bulldogs. How did it feel, Cassie?
I mean, it feels great. I was at the stadium for last year's championship. I was a senior at UGA, and so seeing this here, I watched it from home this time, but it was way warmer watching it from home. But it was such an amazing experience, and I'm so glad to see my dogs win twice.
Absolutely. Cassie, what was your favorite moment from the night?
That's really hard, but I definitely think the moment that they gave Stetson his due at the timeout. I really think that was one of the best moments when they gave each of those players their due and gave them that honor of being recognized towards the end of the game.
No, I love that too, Cassie. I appreciate the call, and I thought it was so deserving. It's one of those things. I'll tell you a quick story here. You know, I'm way up there at the top of the press box knowing that it's going to have to work my way all the way down to get down here so I could be with all of you. And I was wanting to kind of get on down here in the hopes that I could be on the field and be a part of the celebration, kind of soak some of that up. And I wanted to wait up there. I didn't want to leave my perch because once you start walking down, you're not watching the game anymore. I didn't want to leave my perch until Stetson got his moment. I wanted to see that. I wanted to remember that and really be able to lay eyes on that. So to see him give the big embrace to Kirby Smart, to walk off the field, to get the huge ovation. Dog fans doing a great job of recognizing that moment for what it was. I was so glad to be able to really watch that and witness that. And for me, when I think back on this game, that might not only be the indelible moment, certainly of this game, but I think in a lot of ways it defines what this era has been about over these last couple of years. The fact that Stetson Bennett gave Georgia a lift to the quarterback position when they really needed it, and he got the big thank you that he very much deserved for that tonight. Cassie, it's a great phone call. We appreciate you being here. Bobby Means, you're next up here on the DawgNation postgame show, presented by the UGA Bookstore. Bobby, it's a perfect season. These Dogs are back-to-back national champions. It's go for 2 in 22, mission accomplished, back-to-back national champions. Bobby, how did it feel? Bobby, are you with us? Bobby, are you there? Bobby may have a little bit of an issue right there. We'll see if we can get him squared away. We'll get him back up here. 225 girl over here says back-to-back. You better believe that. I love our logo for this. Our team here at DawgNation working so hard to get that. So proud of that. Kind of combining the two logos we've had. Obviously last year was all about the Dog National champions. Now coming back with back-to-back Dog National champions here this year. Kind of incorporating that go for 2 in 22 logo. I'm really proud of the way that turned out and so happy to be able to share that with all of you. So yeah, it's great, and we're having a good time here tonight. Star Wars Dog, you're next up here on the DawgNation postgame show presented by the UGA Bookstore. Star Wars, go ahead. How you feeling tonight?
Hey, BA, execute order 65-7. And we win. Dogs on top, back-to-back national champions. What more do you want? What more do you want? Let's go for the three-peat. I'm all about it. All about it. Oh, my God.
It's a great night. It's great. What will you remember from this game more than anything else?
Whew. Well, the last caller talked on it. And, the sign off to Stetson Bennett. He poured his heart and soul into this season, and I can't thank him enough. I appreciate everything that man has done. He's a Dog fan through and through. I love that. Every ounce of me loves that. I just hope that for our future too. I want Dogs to play for us that want to play for Georgia.
I think that's exactly right, and I think that tonight's game is not only a great, obviously, recruiting pitch for Georgia, who wouldn't want to be a part of the fun that Georgia's having, but I think it becomes a great benchmark for how Georgia players handle their business in the future. The team concept that you're going to ask to buy into if you come here. And it's not going to be for everybody. It's not going to be easy for the players who even think they want to sign up for it. But obviously the results speak for themselves. And it's not just national championships. It's not just things like that. It's also, you saw a lot of guys leave this team last year after a national championship and go out there and really get paid. And you got some guys on this team right now who are going to be very, very well paid. So, yeah, I mean, the success in college football has a little bit of a compound effect, a little bit of a compound interest effect, in that it only makes future success all that much more likely because you can point to what the standard is. Hey, it's represented here and it's represented there. You can point to that. And that's exactly what Georgia has going for it right now. And when I think about, things that I'll remember from this game, I'll kind of also go back to what we said a little earlier. I think that Javon Bullard, with the way that he played in the first half of this game, I think Bullard really demonstrates himself to be now one of the best players in all of college football. This is a guy who's kind of maybe at one point in time you kind of look around, you're like, well, Javon Bullard really kind of helps Georgia. This guy's maybe a little bit of an unsung hero. He's kind of, it's funny, Bullard sort of graduated from unsung hero status to, hey, Javon Bullard's pretty good. All of a sudden tonight, especially on the heels of the tremendous, breakup in the end zone with Marvin Harrison Jr., that Harrison was unfortunately injured on, but nonetheless, it was still a great play by Bullard to have the game that he had tonight. Following up on that game, Javon Bullard right now stands as one of the very best players in all of college football. So I'll kind of remember this as the night he sort of emerges there on that too. We'll get some more of your calls. We'll get some more of your comments. It's our DawgNation postgame show. We're presented by the UGA Bookstore, UGABookstore.com. Don't forget you can go there or just stop by and see them in Athens. Start buying all your national championship apparel. And, of course, we're going to have a whole lot more fun. Thomas, you're next up on the DawgNation postgame show, presented by the UGA Bookstore. Thomas, how about them dogs? How about a national championship?
How about them dogs, man? Woo, 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 woo.
How about them?
Hey.
How about them?
Hey, you got to get my last name right. It's Poncevon.
I see. Let me say it again. Is it Pontavon? Am I saying it right? Pontavon?
No, it's Poncevon.
Poncevon. Okay, Poncevon. All right, thank you. I'm going to try to remember that, Thomas.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to do better with that. Poncevon.
I've been watching the show since 2015, and, there's been a lot of broken hearts, man, with this team, man, and, we deserve it. There's just too much to say in a short period of time, man. I just love my dogs, man, and, oh, man, it's just a great time, a great year to go back-to-back, and, man, I hope we do it again next year. And, man, I'm in Colorado right now doing a contract job out here.
Okay.
Man, I got my flags waving real high, baby. I got it on my truck. I am not afraid to show it, baby.
I love it.
I love my dogs, man.
Thomas, that's so awesome. Thanks for the phone call. And so Thomas, last name Poncevon, a lot of you who may be regular viewers or listeners to our RSN or School Down, you hear me say Thomas Van Sanen. I've always said that since 2015. I've been saying that. Thomas has always been too polite to correct me on that, but it's Poncevon. Thomas Poncevon. Now I'm going to try to do this right in the future. It's the same way our good friend Kathy Green, who by the way is here. I used to always call her Aquavia. Come to find out her middle name is Aquaviva. So some of these names I've just been butchering over the years. People are always too nice to correct me on, but I'm going to try to do that right. So Thomas, if I do it wrong again, you correct me. Make sure I get that right. But I loved a couple things you said there. Let me kind of go through this a little bit. Thomas in Colorado waving that flag for Georgia. And here's what's kind of amazing about this run of success with back-to-back national championships, and who knows where it goes from here. For a lot of you who either do go work in another state or you live in another state, something has happened that kind of calls you away from Georgia. There may have been a point in time years ago where, hey, maybe the folks out there, maybe they wouldn't have quite known exactly what Georgia football was all about. It's the old joke you kind of always hear that people thought it was a red Green Bay Packers, helmet. That's what maybe people would have thought at one point in time. Well, guess what? If they're sports fans of any note, if they pay attention to college football at all, now they are quite familiar, quite aware of what that Georgia brand is, and that's a part of this. And I love Thomas's statement there, too, that, hey, I do think DawgNation deserves this. I do think those of us who are Georgia fans and who've kind of been through this and lived through this, I do think we deserve the chance to revel in all of this because we paid our dues, man. We earned our stripes on this. We lived through it all. And, listen, there are going to be a lot of young fans who really don't know Georgia prior to the era in which we're in right now. But for those of us who've kind of been through some of those heartbreaking years. I think all that ends up being is a backstory that allows us to more fully appreciate exactly what George is experiencing here right now. So it's great. By the way, speaking of Kathy, I just mentioned Kathy, Aquaviva Green. She's in L.A., and she also joins us here on the DawgNation postgame show presented by the UGA Bookstore. Kathy, I believe you're also with Miss Miriam, too. So,
hey!
Kathy, go ahead. How are you, Kathy?
I'm great. Oh, I'm fantastic. I'm in the car with Arnold, his wife Jennifer, Miriam's right here next to me. Hey. We're on our way back to the hotel from the venue. What a game. What a game. It's exactly what I was hoping for. It was everything
Kathy,
I was
me
wanting
too.
it to be. He's talking to you.
What will you remember from the game, Kathy?
Pardon me, say it again.
What will you remember from this game, Kathy?
I can't hear him. I'm good.
That's okay.
We are all great.
Well, listen. Well, y'all enjoy yourself. Enjoy that party. Enjoy Los Angeles. I'm glad to see Dog fans celebrating tonight, so make the most of it, Kathy. Thank you so much. Great stuff there from Kathy Aquaviva Green. Let's make sure we get that pronunciation correct. Got our buddy Connor Riley stopping by here, too. Connor, you've covered a lot of college football here in these last few years. I'm blown away, and we had a caller a minute ago who said it's almost more than you can kind of put into a couple of sentences here. The run of dominance punctuated by this game tonight, unlike anything I think I've ever seen before, and I'm someone who's watched college football obsessively my entire life. I've never seen a team in a national championship game do what Georgia did tonight.
Most points ever in a national championship game tonight. They were one bust away from, I think, winning 65-0. I think just, this is a team all year. And look, people say, they weren't really that doubted. They were a top 3 team ranked beginning of the season. Nobody was picking this team to win the national championship at the beginning of the year. And they come out there and they show why. There have been some talk in the lead up to this, where does Georgia rank right now in college football? Alabama, where are they at? After tonight's statement, I think Georgia's pretty clearly the best program in college football. When their A game is that, and when you're able to play like that, the first game of the year against Oregon winning 49-3, and in the last game of the year against TCU winning 65-7, a TCU team that second, third, fourth best team in the country, and just totally eviscerate them, I think it speaks to where this program is right now.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. I also mentioned this to our audience a little earlier. It was kind of when all the confetti was coming down, so I'm not even quite so sure how much of this was even properly conveyed. But I think now it can be told, the one concern I had about Georgia this year, as someone who did truly believe they had a chance to go for 2-22, and now it's mission accomplished on that, as someone who really believed in that, the fear that I had was, for a team that just didn't have to bring its A game so much, could you really just flip the switch when you needed to? That if you trained yourself to think that you never had to be at your A level, when you really needed your A level, could you go out and find it? Well, in a close game situation last Saturday, they found it. Tonight, really rendering TCU a non-entity very, very early in this game. That's what's so amazing to me is that they didn't really need their A-level performance very much this season. I'm not even really quite so sure how many total quarters of competitive football they even really played. But when they had to be at their absolute best, they even went to a level tonight that I didn't know they had this gear.
8 times this season, Stetson Bennett didn't throw a pass in the fourth quarter. And I'll say this, as far as, not seeing their A game, if we had seen this, and obviously you can't play this well all the time, but if we gotten to see this type of performance throughout the season, I think it changes the way people look at this team. And I asked Kirby Smart in the post-game press conference, what's the significance of going 15-0? Because it's something Nick Saban has never done. It's something he only did once in his time at Alabama. And I think now when you look at this performance in this team, it separates Georgia in this team from even last year's team. Kirby mentioned, last year was maybe more talented, but the will and the mindset that this team had, I just think is so incredibly strong, and that's why they were able to come out here and throw a perfect game tonight.
It's go for 2-22, mission accomplished, back Dog National champions. Nola Dog celebrating this. He's got the cigar in, and he's enjoying himself. Nola Dog, what does this mean for you tonight?
Oh, yeah, BA. We're enjoying this on the North Shore of New Orleans right now, baby. Got the cigar lit up, and I just heard Kirby say that Stetson, greatest dog of all time, just said it on national television was Sky Van Pelt. Just wanted your comments on that. I thought that was pretty wild. So I don't disagree, but go for 2-22. We went for 1-21. Got 2-22. We're going for 3-23. Let's go, BA.
I love it, Nola Dog. Enjoy this celebration tonight. Thanks for being here. And Connor, you can't obviously hear Nola, but what he said was that Kirby Smart on TV a moment ago called Stetson Bennett I guess the greatest player in Georgia program history. For me on this, I don't think you can move Herschel Walker off his perch as the greatest player in this program's history. If you want to say that Stetson Bennett belongs right below Herschel on that list, I'm more than happy to absolutely listen to that. If you want to say, last year, Aaron Murray came out and said he believes that Stetson Bennett's now the greatest quarterback in Georgia history. Well, if that was a debate last year, I don't think it's you can't debate that at all anymore. So, like, the one thing I'm definitely comfortable saying with Stetson, and this for me just kind of goes back to just the great reverence I have for the career of Herschel Walker. I just think that it's easy to forget how good he really was. But if there's a Mount Rushmore of Georgia figures, 3 or 4 most significant names ever connected with this program, there is no doubt here and forevermore Stetson Bennett's now part of that.
Is the Mount Rushmore Herschel, Vince, Kirby, Stetson?
I guess it probably is. Yeah, I guess it probably is. 2 coaches, 2 players. That's about right.
Yeah.
And what's a shame is that means David Pollock's not on the list.
Yeah.
So a program like Georgia are going to have guys that kind of just miss that. But I think you'd probably have to say that. Vince, 6 SEC championships, 201 wins, obviously a national championship. Kirby now has 2 national championships. The list of guys with 2 national championships is very, very small, and Kirby got them in consecutive years here. And then obviously it's Stetson and it's Herschel.
Yeah, and we'll debate all offseason where Stetson ranks, but I just think for a guy who really ironically fits this team with how doubted he had been throughout his career, for him to go out and get the sort of so-called Hollywood ending, it means a lot to him, and I think it's really cool for someone who's been through so much, and not just to get to Georgia, but then to go through what he has gone through. It's awesome, and it's a great story for him to have this performance in his final game and really leave no doubt about how great a player he is and has been for this program.
Caleb Janney, you're next up here in our DawgNation post-game show presented by the UGA Bookstore. I'm sorry, I'm just checking my battery. I'm sorry. I got to make sure I stay focused on what I'm doing here. Caleb, you're next up here on the program. Caleb, go ahead.
Awesome. Well, Connor, BA, it's good to see you guys. First-time caller on the post-game show, but go Dogs. We went 2 for 2 in 22. Man, I'm running out of things to tell my wife that this is the first time in my life for. I said tonight, I was like, okay, well, this is the first time in my life we've gone for 2 national championships back-to-back. So it's pretty incredible to see that happen. Also, the whole deal with everybody, like, hey, Stetson Bennett didn't belong in New York City for the Heisman. I guess that conversation is moot now. So go Dogs, and we did it, guys.
Caleb, that's really well said. I'm glad you brought this up. And listen, tonight's not to be happy and celebrate, but there were people who mocked those who voted for Bennett for the Heisman Trophy, saying that basically you're an idiot because you just voted the quarterback of the number 1 team in the country, the Heisman, as a Heisman finalist. Stetson Bennett showed you tonight exactly what he's all about. And listen, I certainly don't want to make this be, a one-man show that somehow Georgia did what it did solely because of Stetson Bennett. That's obviously not true. We also know this, in good moments and bad, you see the importance of the quarterback position. And Georgia needed a lift at quarterback last year. Bennett was there to provide it. And when Georgia needed that kind of extra gear this year, knowing that you did lose 5 first-round picks off last year's team, you did have, all of those issues that you're going to have just a little bit more offense, a little bit more firepower, or at least you're going to have that offense show up in a big way, even if it, was just sort of equal to what Georgia did a year ago. Well, that's what Bennett was able to provide, and that's why his name is going to be so celebrated on a night like this. Let me bring in Jeff Sintel. Jeff, you were on the field during the game. You were obviously part of the celebration. I'll tell you this. I think that, it'll end up standing as really just one of the – I've never felt quite so fortunate. Luckiest moment – I felt like the luckiest guy in the world because I was standing right over there, like the stage right here. I mean, I was standing right there in it. And I just couldn't believe I was there in that moment, watching that confetti rain down, having the Georgia players, just jumping around and bumping into you, and just seeing that happiness. I just am so glad to be standing where I'm standing right this moment.
First of all, shout out to everybody out there that I know Brandon probably feels the same way I do, that, we have this work, we have these labors, but we do this because of you guys. Without the support, without everything else, I'm just very grateful, Brandon. The moment like this makes me think about COVID 2 years ago when we didn't see any football games, when we were nobody in the stands, and we were wondering what was going on and would we ever get to a moment like this. Brandon, I feel like we are standing on the precipice of Georgia football history. If you want to make if you want to make a debate, an essay that this right here is the highest moment of Georgia football history, I'm going to agree with you. I heard your conversations about Stet and Herschel. My take there is I think the most accomplished football player in Georgia history, not the best, not the greatest, kind of like the MVP debate, but the most accomplished player in Georgia football history, that would have to be Stetson Bennett, the fourth right now. Also, Brandon, if I could not make this night any sweeter, guess who was watching this today in the stands?
I think I saw this on Twitter. Was one Dylan Raiola in the building?
5-star quarterback Dylan Raiola, the number one player in the country for 2024. He was watching this right here. Had to like what he saw, don't you think?
Listen, Todd Monken today was diabolical. Like what Todd Monken did today, talk about cooking. Todd Monken was cooking. Drop the G. He was cooking.
Stetson said in the postgame press conference, he said maybe Monk ought to retire because he just dropped the microphone. Maybe he went out better than Stetson Bennett did tonight.
I don't know that I've ever seen someone call a better game. That one touchdown that they got Ladd so wide open on, when they kind of like run through the wheel route with the running back to kind of confuse the defense. I don't know what you do about that. I don't think you can do anything to stop some of what Georgia was doing offensively tonight. And that's what made the game so sweet, is the fact that this is what we were told Georgia couldn't do. We were told Georgia couldn't do this at the beginning of this year when they averaged darn near 40 points a game last year. The fact that listen, they only gave up 7 points, so I guess the defense played pretty well too. But the fact that they hung 65 out here today, that's a absolute stinging rebuke of every idiot who's ever said a bad thing about Georgia over the course of these last 2 years.
So, Brent, I think one of the stories coming out next week, probably will sit there and say 2021 versus 2022. And everybody just does that. You know what I mean? They can't revel. They can't kick their feet back, put their hands behind their heads and revel. I asked that question to Nolan Smith in the locker room afterward. Nolan said that 2022 is special.
Wow.
More special. And he didn't even participate in it, Brandon.
Yeah.
Because he got to see it. He got to understand it. And really what it did, the reason why, you guys are going to love this answer. I probably should print it first, but I'm going to give it right now on your airways. He says because it puts Georgia where I think Georgia should be nationally.
I love it.
It puts Georgia
love it
right here. And that's where Georgia should be, and that's where Georgia's going to stay. And he's like, that one just moved Georgia into a whole new league of college football, and he said that's why it's the best one.
Jack Sabb, go for 2 and 22. Mission accomplished. Georgia's back Dog National champions. Jack, how did you experience this tonight? What's it all about, my friend?
I want to tell you, I tuned in last night from the Mexican restaurant, and you asked me a question, what does it mean to me? I watched this game tonight with my entire family, my 70-plus-year-old parents, all my kids, my oldest son who's leaving for the Marine Corps in July. We absolutely watched history made tonight. I watched it with my bro. I'm literally kind of beyond words because what a magical moment. We absolutely made history tonight, and again, I'm just beyond ecstatic. 2 for 2 and 22. Let's go for 3, 23. Now I'm going to shut up, let my little bro talk, and have his speech.
No, man, I'm just couldn't be more excited about what happened at DawgNation, man. I was down in Athens for the Georgia game leading up to this, and man, we're rolling, son. What a domination tonight by the DawgNation. Go Dog fans, and we all earned this, and we deserve it. And, man, I can't wait to see what Beck and the Dogs do next year. We're loaded up, ready to go, son. I mean, there's no reason why we can't be 3 for 23, man. You tell us what we're going to do next, BA.
I love it. Listen, hey, great phone call. I appreciate that. We've had a couple of these instances tonight where the microphone kind of gets passed. It almost reminds me as a kid growing up in the 80s when the Horsemen would kind of cut their promo together and they'd pass the microphone around and eventually be like, tell them Double A. I feel like we've kind of done a couple of those here tonight, which has been a really fun thing. But, Jack, we appreciate y'all popping on here and enjoying that. And you're right. It's been DawgNation domination. This has been amazing. And you're left to conclude, let that confetti fall down. Let that rain down on us here right now. It has been that kind of night indeed. I just love it. I can't soak it up enough. And to be able to watch that, enjoy that with your whole family, I know how special that is. And I've been on the phone with my wife and kids. And listen, I think a lot of us are kind of the same way here. It's like, real life is still going on at the same time you're enjoying this football team. And with my family, we've had so much going on as of late. My wife's mom has been very, very sick. She's doing a little bit better. We're really happy about some really good news there on that. But it's been just, you watch my wife and, on the one hand, she's loving everything that Georgia's doing. She's cheering hard for that. And then you have these very hard things going on. And a lot of you are kind of the same way on this, where it's like in the midst of enjoying this, you've got some other very, very serious things, happening in your life. But you just sort of stand around and you just sort of soak it up and you say, through the good, through the bad, these are special, special moments. And in some cases, it's a distraction from other things going on, or in other cases, it's just kind of the thing that brings you closer to the people around you. But it's the stuff we have happening around us in life, I think, that ends up making the things that happen on this, green piece of turf behind me feel so important.
Makes you shake your head, Brandon. If someone would have told me that this is better than Rose Bowl, man.
It was.
It's better than Rose Bowl. It's better than Indianapolis. It's kind of like what Nolan said. Is it just this Georgia football program finds a new gear tonight, finds a new level. Like you guys have read the stories on DawgNation.com. Saban never had a 15-0 team. Brandon, they're head-to-head with Alabama right now. They're not looking down at anything right now, and they have won 29 games in 2 years. No SEC team has ever done that. Only Clemson has done that, and they didn't win 2 national championships. They won one. They went 1-1. I feel like I should be like George Washington on the Delaware River. I think we're standing on the precipice of something really great. And Brandon, you listen to those young men in the locker room, and they're like, no. This is just going to keep going up. They truly believe that they have so much more to give.
What's amazing to me, Jeff, is the way in which a team that's recruited as well as Georgia has recruited, and yet if you look at some of the best players in the team, we could obviously talk all day long about guys like Stetson Bennett, Lamb McConkey. On the defensive side, a guy we've talked about a lot tonight is Javon Bullard. Bullard obviously gets injured. Maybe you can give us an update if there was anything said about that. But in the first half of this game, when you look at what he also did in the Peach Bowl, I think Javon Bullard made a case for himself tonight to be one of the best players in the sport, regardless of position, regardless of whatever. I kind of jokingly said, at one point in time, you sort of looked at Javon, you're like, gosh, he's a little bit of an unsung hero. He's a little better people give him credit for. And then you're like, hey, Javon's a solid starter. Man, that's a guy you're really glad to have on your team. And now Javon Bullard's one of these guys that's like
defensive MVPs.
Yeah, this is a nationally known name now because of what he's been able to do in the college football playoff. That's what he is now, and it's so unfair if you're not a Georgia fan, if you're a part of some other program. The fact that on top of all the elite talent, blue chip recruits that turn into NFL, high dollar draft picks, you've got these diamonds in the rough, these well developed, well scouted guys that probably anybody could have gotten in on Bullard. Georgia just knew who he was, saw the way he was working during the pandemic, and made him a part of this team. And look at what he's doing.
Well, he's special. He loved Georgia. He's one of those guys that we had him on Zooms, Brandon, when he was a recruit. Just a really special young man, very intelligent, very articulate, really cared about Georgia. The people in his high school, they knew he was special. They knew he was a guy that everybody, kind of like a Malachi Starks of his own hometown, Brandon. Got a great story to share. Kirby Smart at the end of the press conference, he says, guys, any more questions? And that was after the last question. And normally when Kirby hears the last question, he's out the door, Johnny, get out of here. But he says, guys, somebody write a nice story. He said that they went to their defensive scout team this week, and they said, you are TCU. You run that defense, and you run that defense better, that 3-3-5 better than TCU does. And he's like, they did. He said, they gave us such a great look in practice. They gave us, and he started calling out names, Brandon. He called out freshman and early enrollee C.J. Allen.
Oh, wow.
He's rolling out, and he's like, our guys were doing their defense just as good as TCU was. Folks, take a minute and think about that. This is the national championship game, and Georgia got a better look in practice getting ready for the national championship game, simulating this defense, and then they score 62 points. Is there any reason why this program 65 points. Is there any reason this program is packed to the gills with potential and future and promise and talent?
Jay Harwell asked the question, have you heard the leaked Kirby speech that's come out? It's the most profane thing he's ever done. Like, it makes the Florida halftime thing seem like a Sunday school lesson. It's the most profane thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I'm assuming it's real. I'm assuming.
What's the bleep to English ratio? Is it 3-1?
It may be 5-1. I mean, literally, this is a waterfall of profanity.
That's what college football is all about. If you've been in a locker room, that's what it's about.
By the way, it's pouring down rain. There's our good friend Ella Dorsey told us there's flash flood warnings here in L.A. Like, it's a mess. And by the way, have you ever seen a celebration like what we saw in this field a little earlier? I think it was bigger than last year.
Brandon, that's Gator tears.
I like it. It's Gator tears. It's
tears.
Everything orange, orange and crimson. They're crying tears tonight because, listen, these Georgia fans, they're about to be very, very tough to deal with. these Georgia fans have taken it in every direction for a good number of years. There was a while in which, almost every border state had a national champion within however many years. Well, guess what? It's back-to-back for the Georgia Bulldogs. Go for 2 and 22. The mission is accomplished.
What's the hypno-toe thing right there?
Yeah.
Can you forget that thing? I got one, Brady. I got one. It's been 0 years since Georgia won a national championship. It's been 0 again.
Easy, you're next up here. Let it go, Easy. How you feeling tonight? How about the Dogs? Back-to-back national champions.
Fantastic. I don't have work tomorrow, so definitely I can celebrate a little bit more tonight, so I'm happy about that. I did not expect this beatdown. I thought TCU would score a little bit more points, but, we went for 2 from 22, and now let's kick that field goal and go for 3 and 23. Cheers to that.
Boy, I love it. Good stuff, Easy. Appreciate the phone call. That is really wonderful. And, listen, obviously I liked Georgia in the game tonight. I expected them to win, but the level of dominance that we saw, I don't believe I could have anticipated that. I don't know that I thought that Georgia was going to come out and absolutely just throttle this team tonight the way they did. But as Jeff said, when you're practicing as hard and competing against, elite players on whatever side of the ball you're on, your counterpart on the other side of the ball, when you're doing that in practice each and every day, it just gets you ready. I'm telling you, it's raining really hard.
I'm sorry, don't mean to interrupt. But, so we were playing a football game, and it was apparently the water was, streaming in. My camera gear was wet, but you couldn't hear that. And now you can hear that, and you're not getting wet.
I'm telling you, this is the strangest day I've ever been in because, earlier we were getting ready to start the show, and it was raining on me. Somehow it was, blowing in from the side or whatever else. It's I'm going to ruin this camera because we're going to definitely do this show no matter what. Pete Williams, by the way, in our Facebook comment section said we need to wrap this up because I got to work tomorrow. Listen, we're going to have DawgNation Daily. I'm happy to know that Easy, our last caller, he's off tomorrow. That's the real championship right there for those of you that don't have to go to work tomorrow, that you've already had the forethought to kind of call in sick or whatever else, if that's what you're doing, like Easy is. Listen, we're all jealous of Easy here today, but we're going to have DawgNation Daily in the morning. I promise you that. It's going to be, 7 a.m. local time, but we're going to be on the air. We're going to be doing the same thing all over again, just like we are here right now.
Is it Coronation Daily? Is that what we're going to call it?
I like it. Yeah, Coronation Daily. I like that. Back-to-back Dog National Champions. Go for 2 and 22. Jeff, I went back a little earlier, and I went back to the very first episode, the very first time we talked about go for 2 and 22, because honestly, I couldn't remember when we started doing this. And what go for 2 and 22 actually started with is after Georgia had beaten Oregon 49-3, won the next week, and we had seen the two teams that were ranked ahead of Georgia, we'd seen them struggle a little bit. We saw Ohio State not look great against Notre Dame. That was a preseason team ranked ahead of Georgia. Ohio State's preseason number 2. We saw Alabama struggle a little bit with Texas. They won the game, but they struggled. And so you saw struggles from the teams ranked ahead of Georgia. You saw Georgia dominate its first 2 games, on its way to South Carolina, dominating that game again. And that was really the genesis of, by the way, you can feel that rain, right? I can see it landing on your forehead. It's basically just, it's raining on us right now, even though technically we have a roof over our head. The point, though, is that that's where go for 2 and 22 started for us, this idea of why not Georgia? Why does Georgia have to give it back? Georgia had it in 2021, but this assumption they're just naturally going to give it back in 22? What if that's not the case? What if it is national championship number 2? And that's kind of what we said there. And it sort of turned into that. And listen, nothing makes me happier than to see folks using that hashtag and sharing that with me. And this may go down as the only thing I'm remembered for in my lifetime. But listen, if this is what the first line of my Wikipedia page is, I'll more than happily take that.
Much better than JD2 NYC. This is much more. You spoke a lot. So Brandon has put George Pickens to Georgia. He spoke that in the universe. And now he's spoken go for 2 and 22 into the universe.
I love it. I do. All right, we'll take a few more of your calls here, kind of roll into all of this. So we'll do that. We'll read a couple of your comments, too. Jeff saying goodbye here, there as well. I guess it's darn near 1 o'clock in the morning. I guess we got to get ready to go home here. All right, so let's give out our player of the game here. It's presented by Wilson PC, personal injury attorneys. Who else would it be tonight other than Stetson Bennett? 6 touchdowns for Mr. Bennett, 2 of them rushing, 4 of them through the air. Brock Bowers had a huge game, too. And we're going to talk to Terrence Edwards about this because Bowers came within an eyelash of almost being a 1,000-yard receiver, something that only Terrence Edwards has done in his Georgia career. And we were kind of up there, Connor Riley and I were kind of talking about this a little bit. There was really very little you could do to kind of knock Stetson Bennett off his perch as player of the game once again here in this national championship. But I did say that if Bowers got to 200 yards receiving tonight, got to 1,000 yards because of that, then Bowers himself would have a pretty compelling case to also be your player of the game. But ultimately, Stetson Bennett, your guy there, he gets that done. So we'll give him our Wilson PC Personal Injury Attorneys Player of the Game. And, of course, our folks at Wilson, as we've been saying all year long, Atlanta can happen out of nowhere. And that's what Wilson PC Personal Injury Attorney steps up to do for you. If you're hurt or injured in an accident, if you're driving around these crazy streets, we've been in the crazy streets of L.A. here this weekend, and I think it just kind of reminds me of how crazy some of those streets are back home there too. So if you have unpredictable things, unexpected things happen to you in Atlanta or wherever you are, our friends at the Wilson PC Personal Injury Attorneys can make you right if you've been wronged. Hurt or injured in an accident, they got you covered on all of that. So you can give them a call, 888-838-YOU-WIN. That's 888-838-YOU-WIN. You can also find them online at atlantahappens.com. That is atlantahappens.com. All right, so I want to give a shout-out here one more time. You've been seeing me hold up this DawgNation Field Edition all night long, or AJC DawgNation Field Edition. It says perfect. You saw the Georgia players holding these up. They're celebrating with that. And if you want to get your own copy of that there, too, you can get a chance to. Let me open this up so you can see it better. So there it is. Perfect season. We got a brand new book coming out. I'm a part of that. Very, very excited to be doing that. So you can check all of this out. Go to ajc.com/dogsnews. That's ajc.com/dogsnews. And you can be a part of that and get your great national championship memorabilia. So, and your collector's items and all that kind of stuff. ajc.com/dogsnews on that. Also, as some folks said earlier, DawgNation Cruise is going to be on and popping. We want you there on that too. So check out royaldogs.com for a lot more on that. Is there anything else that needs to be said? Feels good to be where we are right now. Go for 2 in 22. It was a mission. Now it's mission accomplished. And we're going to celebrate this one in a big way. So if you're in LA, enjoy it. Wherever you are, enjoy it. Soak it up. Make it be a night to remember. And we'll see you tomorrow morning. Probably pretty bleary-eyed and tired, but we'll see you nonetheless for DawgNation Daily. Y'all have a great night. Dogs are national champions once again. Have a great night, everybody.